Good morning, Soul Fam! Happy Wednesday! It's time for our magic morning practice. Very excited to be here with you today. Just wondering why our music is not quite playing here. Let me see. It says it's playing, but I don't hear anything. Let's go. What do we got going on in here? There we go. Good morning. Just going to wait a moment to see who's joining us. If you happen to be here live this morning, say hello. Let me know that you're watching. Okay, live. I'm going to try to come over here and try a different playlist because that is not working for some reason. Happy Wednesday, wherever you are. I'm not sure why my music isn't working today. It's just jumping through the playlist even though we're on Wi-Fi. See if we can go over here instead. Good morning. Just waiting a few moments here to see who's going to be joining us today. We're figuring out why. I have to go with a different app this morning. This is not the playlist I intended, but we'll work with it. All right. So as I posted in the description this morning, we're going to be going deeper today into the heart space. We've talked a lot last week about just like releasing and letting go to create space so we can call in new things, yummy things, all the things that we've been wanting in life. We've talked about sitting in gratitude, how if gratitude is the attitude and that becomes your frequency, how much that is going to then be able to allow you to be putting out that incredible gratitude energy and drawing that back in for yourself, that it's going to come back to you tenfold. And then yesterday we spoke about going even deeper in holding those frequencies and shifting those frequencies when you feel like they're changing. So today we're going to be talking about listening more deeply to the body and what the body is really trying to tell us when we're feeling angry or really sad, even if you're moving through depression or if you have a lot of anxiety. These feelings, these emotions are all part of the body trying to communicate with you. So I'm trying to find like a volume here that isn't distracting to me but also helpful. So sacred anger is where I'd like to start with this, and that anger in the body is actually sort of like the end of many different ways that the body was previously trying to communicate. And anger is sort of like, it's not like it's a band-aid, but it's like, it's the next layer that your body's like, come on, like, you're not paying attention to what's underneath here, and I need you to pay attention to this, right? So I personally have noticed that since becoming a mother, I notice anger a lot more. I think that prior to being a mother, if I really have done the work, and I've really done the work to go deeper and to dig and dig and dig and be like, okay, well, why wasn't this an issue for me before? Why is it an issue for me now? And I think when I really dig deep, it goes way back to childhood, right? That my inner child was the one who was really angry, but she didn't feel safe to express that back then. And so I came up with other coping mechanisms to either numb or ignore or just stuff it down, right? So there are ways that your body and your mind will work together to shift the things that feel uncomfortable, right? So if we aren't paying attention to the emotions that we're having in the moment, if we don't feel safe to express the emotions that we're having in each moment, then the body will come up with other ways to make sure it doesn't have to deal with those things, or to keep you safe, basically, to keep you safe. So one thing that's important to remember is that in our mind, the mind is always just trying to keep you safe, right? It's survival. That's our reptilian brain is all about survival. And so when it comes to survival, the mind is very like black and white. You're either going to be abandoned or you're going to die. Yeah, everything leads to that when it comes to the mind. The mind is just convinced that you're either going to be abandoned, which actually both abandonment and death are the same, right? Because if you're abandoned, then what that really means to your mind is, everyone's left me, I'm not loved, I'm unworthy, there's never going to be a time where I could dig myself out of this, whatever this hole is. I'm always going to be alone, I'm always going to be suffering, and it's going to lead to death, basically, right? That's what the reptilian brain says. And that is your subconscious mind. That is sort of like just a basic human way to behave, because as a baby, as a child, you need to be taken care of, right? When you're an infant, you cannot feed yourself, you cannot clothe yourself, you cannot give yourself affection, you don't know anything about those things. And so that's where the brain starts kind of creating these patterns right off the bat. So if, as a baby, even as an infant, you maybe had caregivers who were not as present. Let's say maybe they were working 20 hours a week or something, or 40 hours a week, whatever, a day. They were working a lot. They didn't have the chance. Maybe your mother had severe postpartum of some, there's now PPD, PPA, there's all different types of postpartum, but maybe she had severe postpartum, and back in the day that was just sort of like, sweep it under the rug and pretend that it's not existing. And so maybe that was never really dealt with. Maybe she was unable to find that connection with you. Maybe even in the hospital there were complications in some way, and they took you away as an infant and you never got that skin to skin, you never got that connection. So your reptilian brain automatically started with this abandonment issue, right? And so again, in the reptilian brain, abandonment is going to lead to death. Certain death, it means, yeah? Now, there are also other ways that the reptilian brain will react to things, again, as if you were outside playing and you start hearing a siren. Maybe that brings up something in your memory about a time when you were hurt. Or maybe you were playing with a ball one day and it went into the road and a car came and honked the horn really loud. So these things are then imprinted into your brain as like survival, like don't go near the road anymore, you could get hit and die, right? Any little thing that could happen, your reptilian brain is going to take it to that point of the end. It means certain death, right? So everything that you're experiencing as a child, most especially, is programming your brain to, your brain and your nervous system are working together to make these programs that are going to keep you safe, right? And so if in your household as a child, you were unable to express your emotions in a safe way, even when you have these big emotions, right? Because as toddlers, Toddlers don't know how to safely express their, well, I should shift my language on that. Toddlers only know how to express their emotions in basically big ways, right? They haven't learned how to sorry, my brain is just like, phew, gone off there. They haven't learned how to go deep within and express like, wow, I'm feeling sad and I need to cry. Could someone hold me please so that I can feel safe to cry, right? That's not how their brain works. They're just all of a sudden feeling this huge emotion inside of them and they want to express it, right? So if as a child, as a toddler, you were trying to express these big emotions, but the caregivers in your world were unable to support you in that, they were unable to hold space maybe in some way, they may have just said, stop crying, or maybe it even came with a threat, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. That was a very normal thing to say when I was growing up, for adults to say that, right? And now it's becoming a little bit more like, maybe we shouldn't put it that way. Maybe we should say something more along the lines of, wow, I see you're having some really big emotions right now. Let me sit with you and hold space so we can get through this together, right? That's a more appropriate way to handle it. However, if the adult caregiver in the situation is dysregulated themselves, then it's more likely to come out as, stop crying. Go to your room and shut the door. I don't want to hear it, etc., right? And so if that's what happened to you when you were a child and as you were growing up, that you weren't allowed to express emotions, that you weren't given that safe space and the tools to deal with those big emotions, then your body is still holding on to them all these years later. Whether you are a teenager, an adult, moving through your life, wherever you're at, if you were not taught as a child how to safely express your emotions, then they are probably still stuck somewhere in your body. So what happens then? So now you go from being a toddler to being a young child, and now you know that if I feel like I need to cry, I have to go hide somewhere because it's not safe for me to cry in front of others. Or maybe you were a child that when you cried and you just had these big emotions, you let them out and you're tantruming and sacred rage. Toddlers understand sacred rage. They are attempting to move that through their body. So if the adult caregivers are holding space for that and saying, wow, you're having some really big emotions, as long as you're not destroying the things around you, let's move that energy through your body. And maybe giving them tools so that it's not so much screaming and pounding on the floor, which you don't want to interrupt actually. You want to wait until that's done. And then later talk about, hey, next time let's try some of these other tools, because their brains are not developed enough yet to be able to stop in the midst of a tantrum and be told something else. There is no logical brain yet, right? Until they reach the age of around 7, they are unable to just stop themselves mid whatever to shift because an adult says so. So we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to be cognizant of that as adults for our own bodies and our own experiences, that quite possibly you weren't allowed to do those things, and so they're still living in your body. So then as you become that 7, 8-year-old, and you know now, okay, I'm not allowed to throw this tantrum on the floor, but I still have all this rage inside. What did you do with it? Maybe you were taught to just go somewhere and stuff it down. That's most likely what was happening for you if you grew up in the 80s or the 90s, or even the early aughts. That's probably how you were dealing with it. So then you come into your teenage years. Now your body is shifting. Now you have all these extra hormones moving through your body. And again, you're not necessarily taught how to deal with the emotions, whether it's sadness, whether it's grief, whether it's guilt, whether it's shame. And a lot of these ones start coming in as we reach those teenage years, right? As women, as girls, we're often taught that our bodies now are shameful and we should feel guilty, and we have to be careful not to let others lust after us. And it's, everything is from the outside, but it's all your fault. It's all your fault no matter what you're doing, right? And so your brain starts to develop in these ways of being like, okay, I have to feel ashamed of my body. I should feel guilty about acting in this way. I need to just stuff all this down and be that people pleaser or that good girl who does everything the way that society says you need to show up. do not express anger, do not express sadness, do not express your emotions, right? So if you were so busy shoving all that down as a teenager, and for men too, I'm not saying that you don't experience those things, but maybe you're shamed in the locker room because you're smaller than others. Maybe you were, didn't make the team, and so people made you feel like you weren't good enough, or whatever the reasons may be. We're often taught as teenagers, again, to just shove it all down. And so it just starts to live in your body. It gets stuck in different places of your body. And it builds on top of itself. So the more you have to deal with, the more shame, the more sadness, the more guilt, the more grief. Maybe you lost someone really important to you during those years, but you still weren't taught how to actually express those emotions as they presented themselves. And you stuffed it all down so that you could appear to the outside world, because heaven forbid again, your reptilian brain is taking you towards, if you don't show up in the way these people tell you to, you're going to be abandoned, and then you're going to die. Like that's what it's leading to. So you have to show up in the way that society is telling you to. But the problem is, again, society has had it all wrong. All these years, society was wrong about it, and I didn't realize that until I became a mother and started really searching out more tools for myself and for my child. How do I help my toddler? Because I was lost, y'all. I was real lost, y'all. And so it took me really connecting with different spaces through the internet. Thank God we have the internet now. And different practitioners and teachers, psychologists, counselors, somatic healers, etc. People who were teaching me all these tools and showing me, as a parent, you really need to go back into your childhood, because now you get this gift. As a parent, you get this gift to reparent yourself. And I'm not saying that my parents did it wrong by any means. The issue is that they were doing what their parents taught them, and they were repeating the patterns that their parents taught them, and they were repeating the patterns that their parents or caregivers taught them. So it's just all moving forward. It's just a big boulder rolling down the hill. And everyone at each generation is doing their best with the information they have in that moment, right? So if you are about to become a parent, start studying now. Start your studying now. Work on yourself now, because you get this opportunity when your child is, maybe even, again, just an infant, and they can't express anything except through screaming and crying. You want to know that you can hold that space for them. You want to know how to regulate your own nervous system so that you are in a beautiful baseline space to hold that safe space for them as they move through their emotions. To be able to, if your child has colic or any other issues where they might be just screaming at the top of their lungs for hours on end. That's what happened with my little one. He went to the doctor several times, but no one could figure out why. He was just screaming. He would scream for a very long time. And it was very hard to get him to calm down when he was little, and he would not sleep for more than 2 hours at a time. So I was a single mama, and I was dealing with severe sleep deprivation, which will definitely have an effect on your nervous system and on your ability to show up as your wholesome self at all times. And so therefore I was completely dysregulated, and sometimes just holding him and just begging the universe to give me the answer. What does he need? He's been fed, he's been changed, he's been burped, he's been bicycles for gas. I've tried everything. Why is he still screaming? And we've gone to the doctor. They say there's nothing wrong. What is happening here? We still to this day don't know. But eventually at the age of 2, he started sleeping, which was wonderful. But until then, I was really dealing with being given the opportunity at every 2 hours, being given the opportunity to reparent myself. Because what it brought up in me was the fact that I didn't feel safe crying myself. So my child crying was a trigger, right? And I think that I didn't feel safe crying because I am an empath. I'm a very emotional person. And when I was a kid, I could really feel other people's energies. I can still do that, but I have a better, an easier time now making my energetic bubble to keep their energies out. But I can really feel other people's energies. And so if they're angry, if they're sad, if they're going through depression, etc., I could feel that as if it were mine. And it was really tough to hold all that energy. But then if I was crying, if I was whatever, I was often told by whomever, caregivers, not necessarily my parents, but caregivers, like, stop crying, stop being so emotional, stop being so dramatic, stop this, stop that. So I was taught to just shove those things down. And so then when your child is doing it, the reparenting comes in, is it's going to trigger you, right? And again, triggers are gifts. Triggers are invitations to go deeper within yourself to figure out what it is that needs healing inside of you. What part of your inner child needs healing? And when I say inner child, that doesn't, I mean, it does mean from infancy through teenage years, etc., but even through your young adult years. Like, if you weren't taught the tools, then you're still experiencing that, maybe even now in your 30s and 40s. That's the truth, right? So each time you're triggered, it's an invitation. My child crying is making me feel like I'm going to go crazy because I don't have the answers and I don't have the tools, or I wasn't using the tools before, or I wasn't supported when I was crying as a child, right? When your child is tantruming, if you're feeling triggered, it's time to go in and say to yourself, why am I so upset about this? Like, why am I not able to just sit here with my child and hold space while they're having this tantrum? And most likely the answer is because you were not allowed to tantrum as a child. And you weren't given the tools to deal with those big emotions. So it's triggering for you now. So just take that all in, because I know the first few times that I heard that, the first time I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. And then the second time I was like, oh, that kind of does make sense. And then the third time I was like, wow, yeah, I'm seeing it now. The more you allow yourself to go deep within, the more you will begin to see, yeah, there were so many things that I shoved down, so many experiences that made me feel X, Y, or Z, that I didn't deal with the feelings, I just moved along, right? So for me, and oftentimes this happens for people even as they're teenagers and things, for me, I threw myself into dance. I was a competitive dancer growing up, and that was all that mattered. As long as I was at dance, I felt like no one else could bother me. I didn't have to deal with emotions, except for a few times that led to me creating the Yoni size practice. But other than that, I would say, sometimes people will deal with it by numbing through alcohol or drugs. So as you get older, if you haven't gone in and dealt with this stuff, then it will be something that you want to numb out. You won't understand how to deal with those emotions. So what can you use so that you don't have to feel them, right? So that's where people's drug use and alcohol use starts to come in, substance abuse of different ways, even like promiscuous behavior, addictive behaviors, dangerous, risky behaviors, etc. generally come from, when people take that to the extreme, they're generally coming from a space of, I didn't feel safe, I wasn't given the tools, and so now I don't know how to deal with my own emotions. Simple as that, right? So as the emotions pile up, as they continue getting stuck in the body starts to really get to a place where it just can't handle it anymore, and it causes dis-ease, right? It's going to cause some sort of misalignment in the body, dysregulation in the nervous system. Different systems of your body are going to be unable to function properly, and so you're going to start having problems, issues, right? With different organs hold different emotions. The liver holds anger, for instance. And so if you're having digestive issues, if you're having issues with your bile, if you're having other issues with the liver, it can often be because of the fact that you are still holding on to anger. And again, anger is sort of like, you start down here with like, oh, I feel maybe sad, and then, oh, maybe there's some grief, and then, oh, there's depression, and then, oh, there's anxiety, and oh, you're coming up to anger, right? Because anger is sort of the body's last attempt at like, pay attention to me, like listen to what I'm saying, we need to deal with this. And it's just becomes so frustrated at that point. Your body is so frustrated at that point that it just can't take anything else in. And so the automatic reaction is going to become anger. So today we want to deal with what are safe ways that we can express the anger, to release the anger, and then allow ourselves to feel safe to keep digging deeper and finding that next layer and the cause of that next layer, right? Because we don't have feelings for no reason. We're not just like, oh, I'm just so sad and depressed. No, you're sad and depressed because of all the things you've experienced up to this point that you haven't dealt with, right? And oftentimes that's going to come also from what you're exposed to, right, in the world is going to start causing the health issues that will then cause the dis-ease in the body as well. So it's a combination sometimes of the emotional plus the chemical imbalances that are going to happen because your body can't function properly, yeah? But the body is this beautiful, magical machine that is indeed meant to be able to move things through it and to release things, all of the things, even the things you're exposed to. So like I know for a fact that this carpet thank goodness it was like off gassing for like 4 years in another space before we brought it into our space. But carpets like these are off gassing chemicals all the time, and you'll like get used to the smell of it or whatever, right? When you get that new carpet smell, that new car smell, that's chemicals that are bad for you. That's what you're breathing. It might smell like, oh, it's new. They've convinced you that like it's a good thing, but it's not. And those chemicals will oftentimes be binding to different receptors in your cells that will then cause you to not be able to actually absorb the minerals and things that you need in your cells, which again is then going to cause like the next issue. We can't absorb the minerals we need, then we can't process things the way we need to, and etc. Right? So it's going to cause those dis-ease in the body. Pair that with the emotional junk, and now we've really got a problem. So today we're going to do a sacred anger practice. For me, I find movement is the most helpful paired with breath work. So breath work and movement. You've probably, if you've followed me for a while, you've probably read several posts where I talk about writhing on the floor. And I've had people message me in the DMs and be like, what do you mean by like that? Like, what are you talking about? Like writhing on the floor? I'm going to show you. We're going to writhe on the floor because that for me is one of the ways that really helps. And why? Again, you watch toddlers when they have that full-on meltdown, right? They become so frustrated that they can't handle it anymore. Their body wants to express the anger in a safe way, and for them, that immediately means dropping to the floor and moving their body, right? And there's often screaming from a toddler. We don't necessarily need to scream as adults, but you can if you grab a pillow or something. I'm not going to be screaming today, maybe just a little like, giving you that space, but the pounding, right? There's a sensory need that the body has there to again, you're causing vibration. Each cell is vibrating and spinning. As you do this against it, it helps it to do that more, and it helps to release more. So we're going to move through some of those things just as you would have when you were a toddler. If you are in your own practice and you're like, I don't know what to do, drop down like a toddler and do what they do, because their body knows, right? They haven't been conditioned yet, like, oh, this is inappropriate to be doing in public. I don't want other people seeing you do that because it means that I'm a bad mom. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Your kid needs to work that out, and if you let them for like a minute or two, guess what? They're going to exhaust the energy, and they're going to feel fine afterwards because they moved it out of them. And then once they calm down and have a few moments, then you can come in with the talk, right? Then you can come in and say, wow, you were really frustrated about whatever the thing was. I'm glad that you were able to work that through your body, those emotions through your body. And here's why we weren't able to do X, Y, Z, right? You have to wait until they've processed it all in order to have those conversations with them. So we're going to do that. I'm going to turn up the music here just a little bit because I have a feeling it might be tough for you guys to hear me. while we're writhing on the floor. All right, let's open this back up. Way over here. So we're going to start again with a little bit of breath work. I have to move on to my bum's back here. If you want to sit in a seated position on the floor, that's great. If you want to be in a chair, if you're on your bed, wherever you're at, just find a spot where you can sit comfortably and that you can sit upright. So even if you're sitting on your bed, sitting upright for now. Sorry guys, it feels too loud to be still. Okay. So start by placing one hand on your low belly. This is, again, we're going to connect here. Imagine that we're connecting to both your root chakra and your sacral chakra. Your root chakra is the space, as you are sitting, you can feel your sit bones on the floor beneath you, and your tailbone and pubic bone are probably not touching the floor, but they are creating this diamond shape underneath you, these 4 points. And that's going to be, that space down there is going to be your root chakra. And this is the space of your safety and security. So if you have imbalances there from your childhood, from your adolescence, teenage years, or even into your young adult years up to now, if you have imbalances there, then we're going to try to clear that today. Your sacral chakra is this space here in your pelvic bowl. All of your sexual organs are connected to your sacral chakra. It is the space of creation and where we hold emotions many times as well. So place your right hand on your low belly to connect to those two spaces, and then place your left hand over your chest. This is your heart chakra. And again, we want to bring just loving energy into these spaces with breath work. So we're going to take some deep breaths here. We're going to extend. We've been doing counts of 4 on other days. We're going to extend to try and breathe in for a full count of 8, all the way down into your lower hand. Breathing in through your nose. For a full count of 8, all the way down into your belly. And then exhale through your mouth gently for a full count of 8. Pulling your belly button to your spine and lifting through your pelvic floor. And inhale again for a count of 8. And with these deep, deep inhaling breaths, I want you to imagine that you are creating this safe space. As you exhale for a count of 8, again, you are just creating this energetic bubble around you that is a completely safe space for you to be with your body, to listen deeply to your body, and anything that your body needs today in this moment. Anywhere that your body is willing to go today in this moment, we are creating a safe space for that. So again, just inhaling through the nose for 8, exhaling through the mouth for a count of 8. We're going to do that for a few minutes here as you imagine creating this safe space. Safe to explore, safe to express, safe to be, and more than anything else, safe to be seen.
As you hold on to that dream, there are moments when you're going to doubt yourself.
Breathe in deep.
Times are going to come, but they have not come to stay. They have come to pass.
Exhale completely.
Can I do this? And something said within me, you're the one. You're going to be hungry.
Exhale completely. And then gently rocking. So rocking is one of the ways ways, again, that we are able to regulate the nervous system. Brings you back to being an infant, being held and rocked when you were feeling upset, right? So this is one of your tools. Your first tool is your breath. Your second tool is to rock or sway your body. Swaying side to side, you can also rock back and forth. And feeling safe to explore what areas of my body are asking me to pay attention right now. Where did I feel the need to suppress my emotions in my life thus far? Allow whatever it is to come up to the surface as you gently rock back and forth. Whether it's feelings of sadness, frustration, guilt, shame, whatever words might come to your mind, whatever emotional energy might come up to the surface in your body. Now just expressing to yourself, you can say this out loud, I am safe. I am safe. I am secure. I am secure in my space. I am secure in my body. I always have more than enough. Imagine a red ball of light glowing right at your pelvic floor in your root chakra as you are repeating these mantras. I am safe. I am secure. I have more than enough. Bringing that energy up into your pelvic bowl now, your sacral chakra that we spoke about. And imagine an orange ball of light glowing here right under your hand in the middle of your body, filling up your entire pelvic bowl. And just try to create little circles in your hips now. You can allow your spine to follow along. Repeating that mantra, you are safe to be seen. I am safe to be seen. I am safe to express my emotions. I am an emotional being. I am safe to release these emotions. Bringing the energy, we're going to actually skip the solar plexus chakra right now. We're going to move into your heart space where your left hand is placed on your chest. And here I want you to imagine a big green ball of light filling up your entire chest. And you can bring your circles now up into your shoulders and your upper chest. Finding that movement. And repeating the mantra here as you imagine that green ball of light glowing so brightly. Feel it emanating from the pores of your heart space out into the world. I am love. I love all parts of myself. I love the scary emotions that show up. I love myself to allow these emotions to come to the surface, to safely be expressed. I am loved, I am worthy, I will not be abandoned for expressing my emotions. In the beginning to just find movement in your arms as you release your hands from your chakra spaces. Feeling the energy moving up through your spine. Feeling safe, to be seen, to be heard, to express your emotions today, whatever might be arising. We're going to start to use the undulation in the spine. Allow a tailbone to tuck underneath you as you pull up through each vertebrae of your body. Allow your chest to rise, your neck to lift, your crown to come forward, your chin in space, torso to come forward in space. And then rolling back up. I'm going to back up a little bit so I have more space in my legs. Good. Curling through, using your breath here. Still using the 8 count inhale. And an 8 count exhale as you come forward, bowing deeply to yourself. Honoring where you are at today. Honoring all of these stuck emotions that your body kept hidden in order to keep you feeling safe, but it is safe today to release them. So we're going to use a little bit of sound now as well. In your undulations, on your exhale, you're going to use sound ha. Coming onto your hands and knees, keep the undulation moving through your spine in whatever ways feel good to you. So maybe you're doing hip circles, maybe you're allowing your hips to come towards the floor, to arch through your back, whatever feels safe for you, whatever is helping you to release wherever those emotions are feeling stuck in your body. Exhaling with the deep sigh still. Ha. And your jaw is another place connected to your hips, so again, the emotional energy, if it's stuck, you want to move your jaw all around. You can play with how close your knees are together or how far away from each other they are. Just pushing through your body, feeling your body against the floor, feeling the pressure of the floor, the support of the floor. Maybe coming down onto your elbows as you continue moving here. Where does your body want to stretch and move and create space? And again, ha, exhaling with sound. Ah. You can bend your knees and start to windshield wiper now your feet over to one side and lay all the way down on your belly. And allow your feet to move side to side. Massaging through your quads and your hip flexors. Opening up the space in your hips to release whatever emotional energy is stuck there. You are safe today to release that. So now I'm going to create circles with my feet around, extending my legs long. Ha. Still deep breathing. And maybe start to rock your body now. Extend your legs long and rock your body one side to the other, coming up onto your right side body. Just leaning forward and back to massage through your right side body, again with your breath. Deep inhale for a count of 8 and exhaling with your sigh. with vibration. And maybe anger is arising in your body now and you want to express it a little bit more. You can take that into more of a scream if that feels good to you. I would suggest grabbing a pillow so that it's not as loud for your house or your neighbors getting worried. And allow the sound to be able to be whatever it needs to be. So if it wants to be truly guttural from way down in your low belly, more of a growl. Again, when we work with children, we give them the option of roaring like a lion or growling like a tiger, or I call it trumpeting like an elephant, woo, or howling like a wolf. So kind of trying to bring it into, we see other animals, we see other beings on this planet expressing in these ways, and we are allowed to safely express in these ways as well. So if you want to bring any of those noises in, feel free to do that in your space, to release. And again, imagine that your breath is helping you. So as you inhale for 8, gather up all of those energies that are wanting to be released right now. And on your exhale, feel them leaving your body with that vibrational sound energy. And then begin to tap the tops of your feet on the floor, and maybe even coming onto your elbows and tapping the back of your hands on the floor as well. And you can shake your head, and your shoulders and your hips. And maybe then you roll onto your left side body, back and forth, massaging your body. It's almost as if this movement here, right, this friction, this pressure is helping you to push those emotions out, helping you to release them from the spaces that they've been stuck for all this time. We no longer need them, so we're going to just writhe on the floor to smoosh them out. Windshield wiper the legs. Maybe even pressing your forehead into the floor. You can come back up onto your knees and press your head into the floor. You can do some yoga where you thread the needle and come onto your shoulder, press your shoulder into the floor. You bring your left shoulder down and reach your fingertips out through your right side body, and then press into the floor and stretch against that. Create space behind your shoulder blades, and in your upper back we hold a lot of tension there. Releasing and letting go, changing sides. Bring your right hand now under your left side. Come onto your right shoulder. And so as I press my hand into the floor, I'm going to draw my shoulder and push away from my hand, so that I'm really stretching through my backside body, creating space to release whatever is stuck in there, and using my breath. I'm going to inhale for 8. And feel every cell expanding, not only within itself, creating it bigger, like as if the cell itself is expanding, but also the space between each cell. All of the cells moving away, stretching and creating space to release. Maybe again you want to use the sides of your fists this time to pound on the floor. Maybe you want to come all the way up, sitting up, and you want to bring your hands to your back, tapping on the back of your shoulders and your neck. Tapping all over your head. Into your chest, your belly, your ribs. Moving the energy, moving the energy. Maybe massaging a little bit. tears want to come, if tears want to come, let them come. If rage wants to come, let it come. And use your body moving in whatever way feels good to you. Let that release. And every once in a while, repeating those mantras, I am safe to be seen. I am safe to be heard. I am safe to express my emotions. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to release anger in safe ways. I was doing my best in the moment. I was doing my best with the tools I had in that moment. I was doing my best. Forgiving yourself. Forgiving those around you who were also doing their best in those particular moments. Giving yourself a deep, deep hug. I forgive myself for all of the ways that I suppressed my own emotions. I was doing my best in those moments, with the tools that I had in those moments. Using your breath still, inhale deeply, feel yourself expanding. Feel yourself being seen, being heard in these safe spaces. I forgive others who were unable to hold space for me in those moments. I know they were doing their best at that time. Deep hug, rocking whatever way, swaying in whatever way feels good to you in this moment. I forgive others. I forgive others who were unable to give me the tools I needed in those moments. I forgive others who didn't have the tools themselves to feel safe in holding space. Maybe even bouncing a little in your hug. I am safe. I am secure. I am seen. I am heard. I am safe to express my emotions. I have the tools to safely express my emotions. Rocking back and forth, maybe still writhing on the floor, whatever it is that your heart space needs right now to feel safe. Maybe even curling up into a little ball on your back. Rocking side to side. Again, I feel safe. I am safe. Some even say that we hold the emotional traumas from when we were in utero. So if your mother was experiencing emotional, psychological, or physical traumas while she was pregnant with you, you were experiencing that too through the hormones, etc., that were flowing through the blood into you at the same time. So holding yourself and again, forgiving yourself, expressing your emotions, letting go of whatever is no longer serving me in my highest. I am letting go of whatever is no longer serving me in my highest path today. You can rock back and forth, big rocking like a ball. I am safe to release anger. I am safe to release frustration. I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. I am safe to release guilt, sadness, shame, all versions of trauma that exist within my body. I release them with my breath and with my movement. Whatever your movement is here and now, you are safe to express and release. And beginning to come to a space of stillness over the next minute or so. Still breathing deeply. If you're joining us later in the practice, feel free to go back to watch the replay of this. It's an hour-long practice of releasing emotions, pent-up emotions, whether it be sadness, grief, shame, anxiety, and anger, frustration, all of these things that the body may have stuffed down in times of your life where you did not feel safe to express them. You are now safe to do so. You have the tools to create that safe space for yourself. You have the tools to express and release these emotions in a safe way. Bringing in gratitude now with each breath. So thankful to be safe. So thankful to have these tools. So thankful to be seen, to be heard, exactly as I am. I do the best with the tools that I have in each moment. I am gentle and kind with myself as I move through this life. I am learning and growing. I am peeling back the layers, diving into the shadows of myself, into all of the recesses, the spaces that I didn't feel safe before. I know I am safe now. Bringing in a little bit of movement and joyful energy now. Again, in gratitude, let's get up and just shake it out a little bit. Woo! A little dancey fun energy. I'm going to turn up the music just a little bit so we can end with this delicious, yummy, playful gratitude energy. Yes, yes, yes. It feels so good to release and make space in your body. To be seen in your wholeness. To be able to forgive yourself. To celebrate yourself for all the work you did today. It's not always easy. It can feel really painful. So after you're done, if it feels really painful during it, if you feel emotionally just completely drained, celebrate yourself. Thank you, body, for letting go. Thank you, body. Thank you, me. Thank yourself. Celebrate yourself. You're never alone. You will not be abandoned. Everyone will die eventually, but don't let your reptilian brain take you to those places. Use your tools. Reach out to your friends and family. If you need support in some moment, if you need space held for you, find those safe people in your life that are able to hold space for you. I can be one. Hi. If you need me, shoot me a DM. Let's process. Woo! You did it. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And I hope that you feel happy and proud of yourself today. I hope that you really take these practices, even if you're like, oh, I already know all of this, because, you know, that's how I felt too for a long time. And then I started going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and realizing that, wow, there's a lot of stuff I shoved down that I didn't really pay attention to. So I encourage you to do this practice, even if you feel like you're feeling great, at least once a month, to just dive deep with yourself and ask yourself, like, where am I still hiding things? For myself, I know once I really opened the doors, I will have things show up daily, like events or things that happened to me, conversations that happened, or instances in my childhood where something occurred where I'll realize, wow, I had an emotional reaction that in that moment that I shoved down, that I pretended didn't exist because I didn't feel safe in that moment to express it. And so now it wants to come out. And so if you just take the time when you can, as soon as you can, to move through that energy, it is going to help you so much. So I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me again. If you caught just the end there and you want to watch the replay, it should be up in just a few minutes. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Stay shiny, Soul Fam. Ciao.